It was supposed to mean nothing. That was the whole point. A 5-second decision at a party I didn't even want to be at, aimed at a person who had spent 4 months making me feel like I was too much. It was supposed to be clean, simple, a match struck and dropped and walked away from. It was none of those things. My ex's name is Brennan. We dated for 14 months, which is long enough to rearrange your whole life around someone, and short enough that people don't take the grief seriously when it ends. He ended it in March, on a Tuesday, in the parking lot of a Whole Foods, which should tell you everything you need to know about how seriously he took it. He said he needed space. He said things had gotten too heavy. He said, and this is the one I kept turning over for weeks afterward, that he felt like I wanted more than he knew how to give. I drove home and sat in my car in front of my apartment for 45 minutes. Then I went inside and told myself I was fine. I was not fine for approximately 2.5 months. The party was in June, my friend Cassie's birthday. Rooftop, string lights, the kind of warm, early summer night that makes everyone feel like their life is more interesting than it actually is. I hadn't wanted to go. Cassie had made the argument that I had been inside and sad for long enough, and that Brennan would be there with someone new, and the worst thing I could do was let him see me staying home because of it. She was right, which I resented. I wore a green dress I'd bought on impulse in April and never had a reason to put on. I did my hair. I took a car so I couldn't leave early without effort. I walked onto that rooftop and found Brennan within 4 minutes, the way you always find the person you're trying not to look for. He was by the bar with a girl in a white top, pretty, easy laughing, leaning into him in that new thing way where every interaction still feels like a performance. Something went cold and fast through my chest. I got a drink. I talked to people I knew. I laughed at the right moments. I was, by all external measures, completely fine. And then I saw him. I didn't know his name yet. He was standing near the edge of the rooftop with a beer, talking to someone I vaguely recognized, and he had the specific quality of a person who is at a party but not really participating in it. Not unfriendly, just contained, like he'd decided exactly how much of himself he was putting into the evening and had already hit the limit. Dark hair, easy stance, a jaw that caught the string lights when he turned his head. I want to be honest about my thought process here. It was not complex. Brennan was 15 feet away. The girl in the white top had just put her hand on his arm, and I thought, fine. I walked over. His name, I found out while introducing myself, was Marcus. He was a friend of Cassie's older brother, which explained why I didn't recognize him. He was 27, he worked in product design, and he looked at me when I talked the way some people do, like he was actually tracking it, actually filing it somewhere. I was not there for genuine conversation. I want to be upfront about that. I was funny and warm, and I touched his arm twice and angled my body toward him in the deliberate way that means something specific at parties, and I watched from the corner of my eye as Brennan glanced over. Marcus said something that actually made me laugh, a real one, which was annoying timing, and when I looked back at him instead of at Brennan, I noticed he hadn't looked away. He said, "You keep checking on something behind me." I said, "I don't know what you mean." He said, "You don't have to tell me, but you should know it's pretty obvious." I felt my face do something. He watched it do it. Then he said very evenly, "Is it working?" I looked back at Brennan, who was now looking directly at us. I said, "Almost." And Marcus said, "Okay." And then he closed the small distance between us and kissed me. Just like that. No long lead up, no asking, just a decision made and acted on, which startled me enough that for a second I forgot I was the one running a play. It lasted maybe 5 seconds. When I stepped back, he was looking at me with an expression I couldn't read. I said, "You didn't have to do that." He said, "I know." Brennan had seen it. I knew without looking. I should have felt satisfied. I felt something stranger than that. Marcus texted me the next morning. I don't know how he got my number until I remembered I'd put it in his phone myself at the end of the night, which I had done partly to seem unbothered and partly for a reason I wasn't examining. He said, "Did it work?" I said, "Maybe." He said, "Let me know if you need a follow-up." I put my phone down and told myself it was nothing. He was being easy and low stakes about something that had been easy and low stakes, and that was the end of it. He texted again on Wednesday. Not about Brennan, just, "Hey, I'm at that coffee place on Morrison that you mentioned. You were right. It's good." I stared at that text for a long time. I had mentioned that coffee place for approximately 45 seconds at a party 3 days ago. He had gone there. I said, "I'm glad." He said, "Come next time." Here is where I have to be honest about the word obsessed, because it matters how you read it. Marcus did not become obsessed in the alarming way. He became obsessed in the way that is somehow harder to handle. Quietly, consistently, with complete awareness of what he was doing. He didn't hide it and he didn't perform it. He just kept showing up in the edges of my week in ways that were always easy to dismiss individually and impossible to dismiss collectively. He remembered things. Not in the way where he can tell someone is trying, in the way where it's just automatic, like the information mattered to him, so it stayed. He texted on the Thursday I'd mentioned was always hard because of a work deadline. He showed up at the coffee place on a Saturday I'd mentioned offhandedly I usually went. I told Cassie about it, and she said, "That sounds like someone who likes you." I said, "It sounds like someone who decided something at a party and won't let it go." She said, "Same thing sometimes." 3 weeks after the party, he asked me directly. We were at the coffee place, this time actually planned, and he was looking at me across the table with that same even expression, and he said, "I need to ask you something." I said, "Okay." He said, "Was I just a prop that night? Because I need to know if that's what it was before I keep doing whatever this is." The coffee shop was warm. Outside, it was still June, still golden. I thought about Brennan in the Whole Foods parking lot telling me I was too much. I thought about 5 seconds on a rooftop that I aimed at the wrong person. I said, "You were supposed to be." He said, "And now?" I said, "Now I don't know what you are, and I'm not used to not knowing." He said, "I can wait for you to figure it out. I just won't pretend I don't care while I'm waiting." I looked at him for a long moment. The jaw that caught string lights, the way he went to a coffee place I mentioned at a party because I said it was good, the way he'd kissed me at exactly the right second without being asked, and then never once made it feel like a thing he was owed. I said, "That might take a while." He said, "I have time." If this story hit you somewhere real, if you've ever done something messy for the wrong reason and accidentally found something honest in it, drop a comment below. And if you're new here, subscribe. Every week I put out stories about the complicated, inconvenient, deeply human ways we find each other. You don't want to miss what's coming next.